have 3 seconds to try a shot and try to win the game.
Now, no more fucking around. It's Wild Style Radio. Wild Style Radio.
What is up? Welcome to the Stand Up and Shout Rock Show, coming to you live on the Wild Style Network and from Salisbury Center Studios in Manassas, Virginia.
Yes, happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Cheers.
Happy hour.
Happy hour. Our
Cheers.
first happy hour Stand Up and Shout Rock Show special.
I think so.
We have broadcasted on Fridays, but only for Friday night metal nights.
Correct.
Never really a true, just pure bred Stand Up and Shout Rock Show.
That's right.
On a Friday.
We just had so much to talk about. We had to do it on a Friday.
We did. And there was like the 4th of July holiday that was thrown in there too, and that kind of threw a wrinkle into everything.
For sure.
Even though the 4th fell on a Friday. It was on a Friday.
It was, yeah.
We were all traveling about and holidaying it up.
No doubt.
And we had to get back to reality.
Yes.
And here we are.
We're back in reality.
Yeah, yes, sir. So, we're about to get to a big topic.
Yep.
But before we get to the big topic, has there been other side pressing topics that have been kind of like popped out to you in rock and roll news?
Well, I guess just before the 4th, Foo Fighters released that new tune, which is pretty cool.
It is.
A little bit surprised.
I was, and I was happy to see that. I'm glad you brought that up because
Yeah.
we don't have that on the docket to talk about today.
No, yeah, and I just right before I came in, Faster Pussycat just released 2 new tunes too,
Oh, I did not see that.
and was listening to that,
Okay.
and that's some good, dirty, grungy,
Yeah.
Faster Pussycat-esque music. So
yeah. I'm wondering what's going to happen with the Foos.
What?
I know.
I think
they need a
we may
drummer.
get into a little bit about that
I
here in a
know.
few minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. Well, let's get at it. So we have big rock happenings and big rock news. We like to present this and talk about this in different ways. Sometimes we
Yep.
just talk about the news.
That's right.
Sometimes we do a little game called Odds Makers, or What Are the Odds,
Yep.
where we make odds, based on rock topics and predictions of what would happen.
Heavy Happenings, which is just the news.
Just the news we call
Right.
Heavy Happenings. And thank you. Yes, I forgot to say that. And then I think sometimes we like to jazz that up though and do a little, really tight a topic approach called Heard and Word.
Yep.
So the news that we've heard, and then we provide a word in a sentence that attempts to sum up the big topic of that news. Does that sound right?
It does sound right.
All right.
That is right.
All right. And so sometimes we have, our production guy out there, John, and then the boss there, Jeff Salisbury. Sometimes they interject and throw in their own words. But they're not wordsmiths. So I always honor their attempts, but if you hear that and it's a little bit off, just expect to roll with it. They just paused on that one. There's nothing. No. I was expecting hot disagreement, but nothing.
No, I got nothing. I'm not a wordsmith.
All right, well, we are. So you're going to like this. The big topic, of course, when it comes to really the 5th of July.
5th of July, back to the beginning.
Yes, not the 4th of July, but the 5th of July. In Birmingham, England, not in the United States, is the Back to Beginning Festival, which is honoring the great Ozzy Osborne.
Yep.
And to another degree, Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath, yep.
And their amazing career in rock and roll. So we have a topic slide for you just to really kind of kick this off in terms of reflection of the festival. Blank is our sentence. It starts with a blank. Blank describes the Back to the Beginning Festival on Saturday, July 5th. Do you want to kick with your word? Do you want to start with mine?
I can go first.
All right, do it.
So for me, the word is nostalgic.
Nostalgic, all right. Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about it before we went live, but getting to watch pretty much the entire thing on the tape delay live stream. Our friend Roger was there.
Yes.
So
yeah.
probably should have
Cheers
gotten
to you,
some of
Roger.
his thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, for me, Sabbath and a couple other bands are kind of what got me into metal.
Uh-huh.
Having an older stepbrother who was listening to early AC/DC and the early Sabbath stuff. But where it really all started for me in 1980 was the first record that I purchased was Blizzard of Oz. So for Ozzy and this event to occur and kind of their culmination of their at least live performing, there's some talk that they may still record,
Right.
but obviously health is a huge issue with,
Sure.
with several of the guys in both Ozzy and Bill Ward, and you know, the guys are getting up there, and Father Time is undefeated. So to see all the bands that performed and each one of them selecting at least one Sabbath tune to cover, in addition to the songs they played, and then you know, it was kind of taking me back to my younger years.
Yeah.
And then obviously when Ozzy came out, because the word was that, you know, he can still sing. He obviously can't be on stage. He's kind of can't walk and all of that. And he was in his throne
Right.
while he was performing, but that he was likely only going to do one song from his solo career and one song with Sabbath.
Right.
And that was not the case. It
Right.
was like 9 songs.
Absolutely.
So that was
half of your album, half of Blizzard of Oz.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
it was, with the exception of Mama, I'm Coming Home,
Yeah.
it was all stuff off of that album. And, you know, Mr. Crowley, Suicide Solution, 2 of my favorite songs off of that album, to be able to, and he was on point, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was awesome.
I went with the word perfect. So, you know, I described this event as perfect. And I think we've talked a lot about, you know, the end of a lot of our rock favorites and the end of their career. And some of them have been extremely messy, and some of them have been very poorly executed. And this festival didn't seem to be that. And it was almost like when we saw David Lee Roth at the M3 Rock Festival. The lead into it was suspicious, and with Ozzy's declining health, and what you even saw from his performance in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you were afraid to kind of think if he did 1 or 2 songs, even what those songs would turn out to be. But everybody showed up, not just Ozzy, like everybody showed up in this. Like all the acts that were selected were excellently, you know, chosen. And we talked about some of the timing, you know, might be a little bit, you know, like difficult to understand for some acts getting some songs, less songs than others. But to me, that's a little bit nitpicky.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
and fortunately, it's nitpicky because everybody showed up and performed well. And so, like, to me, this is how you'd want to end. Like, you'd want to end any career. This is, if we do a retirement party for your day job, that would be Ozzy's retirement party for his day job. And it was perfectly executed. And in that way, you can honor Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath, but to me, you can also honor Sharon Osbourne in that way.
Correct.
Who drove Ozzy to do Blizzard of Oz back in the day when he was a wreck coming out of Black Sabbath, and pieced together that career with Randy Rhoads. So obviously, she's been along the entire ride of Ozzy's career, his solo career, and you know, really kind of like put that together very well. There were a few slip-ups along the way for Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, and I don't know, obviously, there's been a lot of rumor and innuendo and conjecture and things in and around why some bands were there, some bands weren't there, what have you. But yeah, I would agree. It was perfect minus 1 or 2 things, because Jakey Lee was there and performed, you know, and did the stuff off of Ultimate Sin as part of one of the super groups. That was awesome. You know, I think the 2 people that weren't, and I don't know why, you know, there obviously may have been other reasons why they couldn't attend, but I think Brad Gillis, it would have been great for him to be involved, because
that's a good point.
You know, he was put into a tough situation, a great opportunity. You know, he already kind of had some stuff kind of building with Night Ranger, but to have to come in there and replace Randy Rhoads and finish that tour, you know, both he and Rudy Sarzo talked about that in Hired Gun, and what the challenge was, and a lot of people didn't like him because he was coming in, you know, and whatnot. It would have been great for him to have been part of one of those super groups, and Tommy Aldridge. You know, the original solo drummer. So, but yeah, it was cool, and I love the gamut that they covered in terms of both Ozzy and Black Sabbath's history, and then the bands that were part of it all fit in real well.
Yeah, I think they were very mindful of the legacy of Black Sabbath, and we go, of course, one of our favorites that we've really kind of like touted on over the years and here in the Stand Up and Shout rock show is Lizzie Hale.
Yep.
And being just not only an excellent performer, but a student of rock and roll and really understanding the context and the history of rock and roll and how it's developed and evolved over time was just, to me, in hog heaven, you know, in her performances and everything that I witnessed on that day.
Right.
And I'm with you. I wish I was there. It would have cost an arm and a leg to get there.
Oh,
but
for sure. You know, and the other...
we had to watch from afar.
Yes, we did. Yeah. The other surprise that, you know, obviously he's got the chops, but the stuff that he performed on and just blew it out of the park was Nuno.
Yes, yeah, he got high accolades.
You know, obviously he's very, very talented, but man, he was nailing all of the songs that he performed on. So it was just a treat to watch.
Absolutely. Yeah, very cool. So I have not read, I don't know you have, I have not read any bad press about this festival. I have not really seen a significant complaint. Might be some like, you know, kind of smaller pieces.
Right.
Would have been, could have been maybe slightly better, but I think that was the key word of slightly. Ultimately, all the press has been, you know, magnificently blowing this festival up. And then to me, anybody that we would know in attendance, the word of mouth is the same.
Right.
That you should have been there. That was a hell of a day.
Yeah. The only thing that I read that might be kind of bad, I would say, it appeared, and it's just rumor because no one's confirmed it, but I guess there's a sound curfew.
Yes.
And so it sounded like there was a plan for them to wrap the show up with Black Sabbath.
Yes.
Which probably should have been performed.
Right.
But they got curfewed. And so whether that happened or not, I don't know. And, you know, so.
And it was my understanding that there were two rehearsed Sabbath songs that were not played by the band. One of them being Fairies Wear Boots.
Right.
We were talking about that before we got going. It was one of my favorite Sabbath songs.
Oh, yeah. But it didn't seem like, I mean, the coordination seemed to go really well. It appeared that anything that was covered by one of the bands was not a song that either Ozzy or Sabbath performed live.
Right, exactly.
So I don't, you know, obviously Sharon and the group was coordinating that because why would you want them to play it twice?
Exactly. So, I mean, I guess in that way you're leaving them wanting more. Not a bad thing to do.
Sure.
Yeah. Yes. Very cool. Yeah. All right. So a lot of positivity. We're going to keep talking about this because these are just some of the points that we decided to bring up.
Right.
I think that there's a lot of points that we could sit here and talk about for 3 hours.
Certainly.
Regarding like everything about this festival. But to me, one of the ones that's getting a lot of press is, you know, the interaction of Jason Momoa. So the actor, with Jason Momoa, he's in Minecraft right now, that movie. He's obviously like a buff, long-haired dude. And I always think of him as Khal Drogo in Game of Thrones. That's where I go, being the nerd that I am on Game of Thrones. But the sentence is that we have Jason Momoa's moshing during Pantera's Back to the Beginning set can be described as blank. You want to go with your word?
Yeah, you can go.
All right. Okay. So I'll be interested to where you go with this because you're a mosh purist. All right. So I just went with the word endearing. And I don't know. I'm going to say this with a caveat. When I use the word endearing, I don't know if that's good for a mosh pit. I'm going to first start by saying that. But I know this is that was the mosh moment. To me, one of two mosh moments that everybody's talking about. And I would think if you don't know much about mosh pits and maybe, you know, you're just a housewife sitting at home and maybe moshing looks a little intimidating to you. And Jason Momoa, maybe he looks intimidating to you, but he also looks sexy to you, that you might be drawn into like kind of watching what happens in a mosh pit just because he's there. And because he is that kind of, for lack of better words, cute personality. That's why I would call this an endearing mosh pit moment. But I'm not saying that with necessarily the most positivity when I'm saying that. There's a little bit of a bite, you know, in that piece for me. So that was the word I selected. That to me, there's a lot of attention being paid to this. Like to me, if you go just do the Back to the Beginning search in Google, stuff about Jason Momoa moshing like hits that feed pretty quickly. So, you know, that's why we at least had to recognize it. And there he is. There's Jason Momoa in the weeds of course, one of your bands, Pantera's moment.
So my word is forced.
Okay.
Because if John wants to replay that, he's not fucking moshing.
Right. That is true.
He is on the outside of the pit.
I don't think he gets it.
And most every time they showed him during the moshing, he was on the outside with his phone up,
Right.
taking selfies.
Right.
So now, obviously, he's a big dude.
Right.
So he can more than hold his own in a pit,
Sure.
but he's just kind of in the crowd there. And
Right.
I sent John another clip.
There was a big lead into him going too. Like it was very much to me a staged thing. Like he was making sure that everyone in that crowd knew that he was about to go into that pit.
And I love Pantera.
I was about to say, do you think this bastardized Pantera?
No,
All right.
but if he really wanted to get the mosh pit experience, he needed to get into the pit during Slayer.
Well, there was my second mosh pit moment.
And
All right. So
yes,
there we go. Yeah. Of course. That's
not just a pit, they were everywhere. And maybe when it tracks back, the one in the middle was huge. There it is. So yeah, that's the pit he should have gotten to. Because there were a bunch of maniacs with Slayer playing.
It was also when he got in his pit, it was like, you know, if these are swirling galaxies, you know, in the universe, his pit did not look like the swirling galaxy. Like he jumped in and then the whole crowd like collapsed towards him just to get like selfies with him or like high fives. It didn't have that beautiful swirl that a good pit would have.
Yeah.
Of course, and those Slayer pits had. So I'm not sure if it was even a pit. Like I hear what you're saying. Like it certainly recognizes that, definitely by the press. But yeah, so like it's added publicity to this whole thing. I guess that's not bad. I guess there's no such thing as bad press.
Always good press.
Always good press. Yeah. But I wouldn't say that it was, you know, a true mosh pit moment.
I would agree.
All right. Next topic that we chose to kind of point out. You want to go with this one?
I can.
All right.
So Steven Tyler's performance at Back to the Beginning Festival can be called promising.
Oh, promising. All right. Yeah. All right. So, wow, you see a future to this, huh?
I do see a future to it.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, I knew he was going to be performing because everything was a little on tape delay, and in the Twitter and social media world, had already been announced. But in that super group, it was the last 3 songs of the first group. And so they kind of started into Train Kept a Rollin'.
Yeah.
And he wasn't on stage. Like they introduced the whole band. And then when it was time for the song to get going, then they brought him out. And he was money.
He was absolutely fantastic. And we are Aerosmith fans.
Yes.
You know, so like we are admittedly Daniel Ruin Aerosmith fans, and we're gonna like support this. So I'll throw out my word. This was to me teasing.
Yeah.
This performance was teasing because we didn't have tickets. We were looking at tickets because it was way overpriced, this farewell tour that Aerosmith was giving, when his vocals crapped out and the end of Aerosmith very abruptly happened. And to me, this gets into the conversation of how you want to end your career versus how a career may be unwantedly ended.
Right.
And that's what happened with Aerosmith. And I feel, as an enormous Aerosmith fan, they deserved more. And I wish they would have had something like this to acknowledge Steven Tyler. Obviously, Ozzy Osborne is an enormous figure in rock and roll. I don't know if Steven Tyler is as big, you know what I mean, in terms of his legacy, but he certainly has a substantial legacy, especially in the United States. So there should have been better recognition and an end to his career. And you heard of the failing voice and the vocal issues, but it came out. And to me, the track that really caught me was Whole Lotta Love, when he did Whole Lotta Love and covered that Zeppelin tune.
Yes.
With the swagger of Steven Tyler. So not even just hitting the notes, but also having the confidence to work the stage in his badass frontman way and own that song, difficult Zeppelin tune. God bless him. And so it's teasing to me because I want to see this. I hope it's promising.
I think it is promising.
I hope so.
And it definitely was teasing because this is now like the 3rd or 4th time that he's shown up at, an event.
Right. Yes.
And performed
He's doing these pop-offs
since the second surgery.
Sure.
And every clip I've seen, he's just been on point.
Yep.
And just recently, Joe Perry announced, this is on Access TV, that
Very reputable source.
the possibility exists of them doing, at the very least, a very much similar to Back to the Beginning,
Right.
a final Aerosmith performance with
right.
all of the original members of the band.
I can only dream. I can
So-
only dream.
That one may have to be a road trip
Hey, absolutely. Right.
because it'll probably be in Boston.
Right. Right. But that's not too far off.
Nope.
For us here in
And
DC.
if you do it that way, the way they did the Sabbath Ozzy thing, I think it would be fantastic because then you got a bunch of bands you could bring in that were influenced by Aerosmith.
Love it. I would love it.
And Dirty Honey and others. But, you know, I think that would be a great way if they're truly not ever going to tour again, you know, and again, they're all getting older.
Right.
So that's their swan song.
I love that, like, in this festival for Ozzy Osbourne, for Black Sabbath, for Sharon Osbourne, they not only paved the way for a lot of heavy metal over the years since the late 60s, early 70s, but they're even showing them how to end it, right? So, like, you have to wonder if Aerosmith feels that way or if Steven Tyler feels that way. Like, I wish we had something like this. Instead, it went the way that it went, which was a little bit ugly. There's, to me, bands that have done it worse even than Aerosmith.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily intentional on Aerosmith's part, but I really would love to see an homage to Aerosmith that would be appropriate for the great band that they are. So I'm with you. So I hope that tease becomes fulfilled on a promise. I hope that it flies that way.
That would be awesome.
All right. I am dying. We have not talked about this. I always love about this when we get on the podcast. I don't know what you're going to say. So I'm very curious as to what you're going to say on this because there's a lot of rumors flying about this particular topic and gossip. So Blank is the band that Sharon Osbourne disinvited to Ozzy Osbourne's Back to the Beginning festival. So huge press is out about there was a band that was not allowed to play. They were supposed to play, but they were not allowed to play. And who would that possibly be? And there's a lot of speculation. I don't think you're going to say this band, so I'm going to go ahead and spit it out. I like that somebody is putting out there's a rumor that it's Spinal Tap, because I think that that's really funny, because that would be a great gag. And if Sharon Osbourne did that, like, God bless her, and this is all just a hoax, that's awesome. Like, all right, so. But I did not pick that. But I'll say that it would be great if that was the case.
They do have the Spinal Tap sequel coming out.
Right, exactly.
So it would have been a great marketing pitch. But the rumor and what she has supposedly said and quoted as saying, you know, this band was trying to profit off of the event.
Right. Which made it sound real as opposed to like a hoax with Spinal Tap. Yeah.
And I don't, you know, I think the Spinal Tap members would have just done it for the marketing with the new movie coming out.
Right. But that would have been a great gag if there was going to be a gag in all of this. You want me to go reveal first?
I'll let you. They may be the same.
You're locked and loaded. And I know you're a huge fan. To me, it's got to be Kiss.
Oh.
It's got to be Kiss. And then I got like this little picture of Gene with the money because you brought up, you know, this piece that this band was disinvited for that specific reason because they wanted to profit off the event and they could not meet terms to get paid for this event. And that's Kiss to me. Like, I love Kiss. They're a great band, but I mean, Gene Simmons is the king of the sell for anything that could be marketed as Kiss. And I could see him drawing a line, and especially, you know, I don't know if I love their send-off necessarily because it keeps evolving and keeps to be ongoing and evolves in another form, and you think that it's going to be the final. And how many final tours have they had?
Right.
You know, right? You know, so like, you know, it kind of piggybacks on that in a way. And that's where I go down that road for this. And I think I probably considered the band that you're going to throw out there. I've considered others.
Right.
But that's the specific thing that brings me back to Kiss. And it would also, to me, fit in the time frame of a lot of the acts that are playing in that 70s rock time frame.
Sure.
Right.
Well, and, you know, so there's there's been a bunch, and some of it's been poo-pooed and dispelled. You know, I think generally most people, when they were commenting on it, one of the first bands that came up is Megadeth.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And apparently Kelly Osborne said, no, it was not them.
Right.
And then the other one is Motley Crue.
Yes.
And people were saying, why wasn't Motley Crue on the bill?
Right.
You know, they got their break. Ozzy gave them their break.
Right.
You know, they were huge
Every Mother's Nightmare
supporters.
tour, great tour,
Yeah.
legendary tour.
And now that would certainly be another band that would
I
be looking to
considered that.
profit it
I
off of
considered
it.
that. Mhm.
But my pick is Soundgarden.
Wow.
And I've read this in a couple of places.
Okay.
But my understanding is it was a band that was originally advertised as on the bill.
Okay.
And so I went back, you know, because the beginning of the year we did our predictions,
Right.
and I said that this event was going to happen.
Right.
And then like a week and a half later, it was announced.
Right.
And so that original post with the bands listed there, I went back to when we posted it on our Facebook page, and there's nobody that I could tell. What was interesting was both Duff and Slash were listed as performing, but not Guns N' Roses, and that changed later. And then the only other person that, you know, so like people said Iron Maiden, they said Judas Priest, but there was no other band that was on the original list that did not perform. So it was a little unclear, but then I was reading something that said the surviving members of Soundgarden were approached and asked to perform, and they were going to bring in a guest vocalist.
Sure.
And then Vicky Cornell got involved, and she's the one that was asking to be compensated.
Okay. I mean,
And so-
if that is true, that's what I was going to get to. I was
Yeah.
curious when you said Soundgarden, where does the for-profit, come in?
Right.
That's heartbreaking to me as
Yep.
an enormous Soundgarden fan. If that comes true, that is very that's a heartbreaking thought.
And that's a band that, obviously Chris is gone, but that band of all the grunge bands had the most audible influence of Black Sabbath in their
That
music.
is very true. That
So
is
for them
definitely-
to
it is
have
there.
been asked to perform there
Right.
would make a lot of sense.
Right.
But then, and if she was wanting her 1/4 of anything
Right.
of Soundgarden performing again,
Right.
I could see she potentially blew it up because they've had those issues in the past.
Right. Well, and when we talk to like the end of bands, I'm like when I'm thinking here and listening to you talking about it, Soundgarden obviously came to a tragic end with Chris Cornell's death.
Right.
And it's never like whatever frontman they get, he was just so irreplaceable. I don't know what you're going to do to sustain.
Yeah, or who replaces him.
Right. Exactly. Right. So, yeah, if that's the case, like it almost adds more tragedy to the whole situation.
Right.
If it is Soundgarden, it is more tragic because you're emphasizing, to me, a band that wouldn't necessarily perform if Chris Cornell was alive. He
Right.
would absolutely not be doing this for profit, and you figured his wife would know that.
Right.
And then like, is Sharon Osbourne going to call that out and like almost, for lack of better words, humiliate, Vicky Cornell?
Right.
For like, kind of being motivated by money.
Well, and it goes back to what we've talked about related to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Right.
Who's going to be
Right.
performing when they do their induction? And how is she going to parlay into all of that?
Right, right.
So it sounds like if that is truly the case, there's a whole lot of more drama coming up in the next few months.
That's very Yoko Ono. That's the Yoko Soundgarden effect.
Right.
I hope. I love it. I mean, that's very creative, like what you came up with, and I could see the rationale. I hope it's not true, though. Like,
Yeah.
as a Soundgarden fan, I really hope that's not true.
Yeah, I mean, for it to be Motley Crue or
Right.
others, Kiss.
Right.
Yeah, makes total sense.
Right, because, I mean, it's, for lack of better words, I wouldn't call, I'm not defaming Kiss as being, like, a little bit of shameless in terms of, like, chasing after money. But they're very open about it, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's what we do. You know what I mean? We're going to sell you anything that we can with a Kiss logo on it and make as much money as possible. And if you don't like it, don't buy it.
You could buy the Kiss coffin.
Exactly.
So, I mean, come on.
Right. So, like, to that, it's not really, to me, defaming of Kiss because that's what they do all the time. But I don't see Soundgarden in that light.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, wow. All right. That's big, Kevin. That's the first I've heard that. I had not heard or read anything in that direction. So you went backtracked and did a little homework on the list, huh?
Oh, I've been reading these articles because I'm like, I want to fucking know who it is.
You and a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very popular topic.
I just hopped on Reddit to see what the kind of overall opinion is on it. And so what I've pretty much seen is either Megadeth, Slipknot, Kiss, Rob Zombie, Crew, Iron Maiden, Deep Purple. And they said 0 chance was Judas Priest, and this guy goes into a theory behind it.
Yeah. And there was 0 chance to me that it's Iron Maiden also. And Sharon Osbourne's even come out to say that much.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and because her and Bruce Dickinson don't get along.
Right.
But Ozzy loves Bruce and all the guys in Iron Maiden.
Right.
So if he wanted them there, they would have been there.
Right. And another piece that kind of like turns me off of Slipknot also is the Kelly Osbourne proposal. Right. So you had a member of Slipknot proposing to Kelly Osbourne in the middle of the festival and asking Ozzy Osbourne permission to do so, which was recorded as a part of the festival. So you figure if there was some contentiousness there, that probably wouldn't have happened. You know, it wouldn't have been so public at least.
Right.
You know, so like that kind of like puts me off to those two, or 3 acts, because I would say the same thing about Judas Priest.
This one comment has a ton of upvotes, and it's apparent it's a dark humor comment. I'm trying to understand it because it's before my time. It says, I heard it was Van Halen, but they wanted too much money to dig up Eddie, so they were going to use Dimebag instead since he already has Eddie's guitar.
Wow.
What does that mean?
Wow. That means that both of those guitarists are dead.
Yeah, I know that part, but what about Eddie? Wait, what about Dimebag having Eddie's guitar? What is that reference to?
He actually, I mean,
I was going to say.
A lot of those guys are collectors.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was a trade situation or, I mean, even like George Lynch has sold most of his guitars.
Right.
So, yeah, it may have been a situation like that where Eddie's got probably 500 guitars and like, oh, I'm going to sell a few of them.
Right.
And so Dimebag ended up buying one of them.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know. You know, that's definitely like still like I actually was afraid. We started talking about this a day or two ago, like the topics that we'd be talking about tonight, that was going to be announced by the time that we were talking this evening. But there seems to be this continued delay and hold off, like, I'm going to tell you tomorrow. I'm going to tell you tomorrow. I'm going to tell you tomorrow.
It may just fall by the wayside.
Exactly. We may never know. It might just be that continued permanent rumor. Rock and roll, we could do a myth versus fact like in another couple years as like more is revealed about all of that. Okay, so we're coming to the end of the Back to the Beginning commentary. Just to kind of, before we put it to bed, is there anything else that you think that we missed and should maybe have acknowledged?
No.
Okay.
Good.
I think there's going to be more.
Alice in Chains, we talked about it before we went on the air, were phenomenal. You mentioned it briefly. Hailstorm. You know, all the bands were great. Rival Sons.
Yeah,
yes.
I was going next was Rival Sons.
Yeah, so, you know, a newer band. So it was, you know, I just thought it was great. You had the old bands that were around when they started, newer bands that have been influenced by them clearly. And
Mastodon, even that kicked the whole thing off. Mastodon just brought it, a huge statement, like from the first note, that it was going to like be like a legit and perfect way. I go back to that word, perfect way to end an amazing career.
Yeah, and you know, if it does come out that Megadeth was the band that was disinvited, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
Right. Dave is Dave.
I can't imagine that he would put money in front of them taking part in that.
That doesn't seem like a Dave Mustaine thing to do either. I agree with you there.
But it was disappointing that was an opportunity for the big four to all be together again.
Right.
And it's been, you know, based on covers and things that Megadeth has done over the years. They've clearly been influenced by Sabbath. So it would have been great. And then the only other thing that, and I mentioned it, was Anthrax only got to play 2 tunes.
Right.
Felt like they got a little bit of the shaft.
Right. It would have been, really, I could have heard from all the bands more at the end of the.
Oh, for sure.
The whole
maybe reduce down the length of some of the all-star bands,
exactly.
The super groups, and given a little bit more time to the actual groups. But
This reminded me also, like, I think the other thing that was done well in terms of a tribute was the Taylor Hawkins tribute. So it reminded me of that too, how well done that was, and how they really paced the right acts and the most appropriate acts to kind of come out and perform. Of course, you know, you had these really kind of uplifting moments with Shane Hawkins, you know, playing and, you know, some of the tracks that his dad had played and like how moving that was. Mom, I'm Coming Home had that nostalgic, heartfelt pull. Changes with the British artists. It was the first time I was exposed to Youngblood.
Yeah. That was of the covers. I think of the bands that did covers, that was one of my favorite. And then Alice in Chains doing Fairies Wear Boots.
Love it. I mean, right. That's just song. I can watch that song again and again and again. You get a good band, any good band playing that song is so solid, it's just going to carry it. Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're going to shift gears a little bit into a different rock topic, although to me it refers back to the beginning a little bit. It's a good transition because we brought up Motley Crue, and in handling one of the shittiest ends of a career, Motley Crue can't seem to sabotage it enough. So, like, you know, that's just my preference, not necessarily about the latest heavy happening topic, but just about how they've handled their end. We thought we saw the end in LA in 2015.
That's right.
Yeah, like, but evidently...
Guess what?
The drama keeps flowing. So in the latest Motley Crue drama, Motley Crue's version of Home Sweet Home, featuring vocals from Dolly Parton, is, and by the way, that's not an AI hallucination. There's an actual version of Home Sweet Home out there with Dolly Parton and overriding vocal tracks. I'm saying they're overridden. I feel like they're pasted in there. Is, in my opinion... I misspelled it. I forgot the D. So this says expecte, but it's expected. Like, they do this dumb shit all the time anymore. Like, you know, like I obviously derided it before I even read, you know, the Heard and Word statement.
Right.
I mean, I get it. So like, I don't mean to decry Dolly in this, actually. Like, I think the mistake when I say it's expected from Motley Crue and not necessarily Dolly Parton. I think Dolly Parton's been kind of looking for rock chops ever since she's tried to really kind of figure out how she's fitting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I think that she wrestles with that, but she at least acknowledges it and honors it. And then also reminds herself that she's like that. She's a country girl, you know, like a down-home country girl. And that's genuine, and that's who she is. I could never imagine in 1983, you know, when this came out, or 85, 85, that Motley Crue, when they put out Home Sweet Home, had any dream of having Dolly Parton contribute to it. But to me, they're so desperate for attention that they'll do anything like this anymore. So that's where I came up with the word expected.
So my word is shit. Because
Kevin, you cut right to it.
I mean, first of all, expected. Another version of that is they've done remakes of this. This is like the fourth or fifth time they've redone this song.
Yes,
so yeah, it's expected. Yeah, they want to keep their name in the press. They've had to cancel a bunch of shows, and you know, I would say that's even part of the reason the whole catfishing thing came out in the news.
Sure,
just to keep their names out there and people talking about Motley and their drama. But the actual song is shit.
Yes, I agree.
It's like, why, if you want to...
It's not even well done. It's not even well produced.
It's like, if you want to collaborate, go in the studio and do the song.
Exactly.
But they took the original version and just had her cut vocals.
Patch vocals over
and
top
it's
of
so
it.
fucking obvious.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, and, you know...
I almost went with the word desperate. And then that's where it shifted to me to expected, because it feels like Motley Crue is desperate to stay relevant.
Yep.
And that's what I respect about the back to the beginning approach. You knew what your relevance was, and you know you're at your end.
Right.
And so you want to acknowledge that and be genuine in the place that you are. So Motley, if you want to keep like putting out albums and playing live, then do it. You know, like be relevant then, as opposed to being this desperate and doing something that is continuously expected. I got Lou looking at me.
Yeah, I'm dying over here. I've never seen Kevin so fired up. It's like you called Megadeth gay or something. He is fired up.
Well,
I love it.
When our buddy Eric asked, you know, I think he sent us the link, and I'm like, oh, it says it's out today, because it's part of another greatest hits album, that they're releasing in September, to coincide with their Vegas residency, and it's all the same stuff, you know, that they've already remastered and re-released and everything, except it's got the Dirt and this song and the couple of other new tracks that they Dogs of War, which was hot
Horrible.
garbage.
Exactly. Horrible.
You know, so, but what I thought was ironic in and around that is Mick is on the cover of that album.
Right, exactly.
So it's like,
right. I told you he's coming back.
Yeah.
He's absolutely,
And
it's a part of this.
I guarantee there's going to be some announcement that because it's a residency, he's going to be back in the band.
Absolutely. I said, like, I'm fully convinced he's going to come back because it's just a continued desperate ploy. I think, like Lou, getting to what you're saying, there's a thin line between love and hate, right? You know, and like, why would we keep talking about Motley Crue if they are irrelevant, other than we just love them so much? You know, it's devastating.
Brings out
like,
the passion.
Yeah, it does. It's like, it's heartbreaking, like, to see this stupid shit being done again and again.
It's like domestic violence. You hate the ones that you love the most.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
We're being abused. We're being abused by Motley Crue.
We need to report them.
And we're sick of it.
They've been killing our emotions for the last 20 years.
Right. I mean, you know this. You've been to
yeah.
When you go to a great Crue show, it is amazing. It's off the hook.
Yeah.
But, you know, Dolly Parton, you know, like,
I'll give her credit.
right. Not Dolly. Dolly stayed Dolly. You know, Motley's the problem.
She'll try anything. She's a sweetheart.
Right.
I think she's trying. She still feels bad that they put her in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. She's like, I'm a country girl. Like, how can I fit into this more? Like,
sure.
that's her stance versus Motley Crue is like, how can I get more attention?
Well,
I agree.
And I think it goes a little bit to Nikki Sixx's comments when they were releasing those 2 new tracks several months back, where he's like, yeah, and he claimed he was just joking, where he's like, you know, we may do country music.
Right.
Because that's what's hot right now.
Right.
And that's, so yeah, another reason why this is expected, because
Right.
you know, they're trying to cross over, kind of get some of that, some fan attention from the country side.
Absolutely. Remember when Ronnie James Keel did that? Like, Keel, which was a great, like, heavy metal act, then he came in as Ronnie James Keel, you know, and then he was going to do this country thing as Ronnie James Keel. And they're like, really? Like, you had some, like, bitchin' Keel albums. And, like, now all of a sudden he's, like, leaning on a truck with a acoustic guitar and a hat down over his face, and I'm like, all right, dude, like, do what you got to do. All right, get to our final heard and word of the day. Okay, we're switching. We're really kind of flipping out of almost. We're still talking about an end of career in some ways.
Yeah.
You know, as to whether or not that really is an end of career, and I don't know, but we'll see. But we'll let you read it. I read the last one.
Sure. Pearl Jam's future without drummer Matt Cameron is, and my word is, sketchy.
Okay. All right.
Because,
Sketchy.
you know, we did talk, I think it might have been a What Are the Odds? What are the odds that Pearl Jam was going to record another album and tour after this most recent release? And it sounds like, now we'll see, that, Matt Cameron has just said, I'm done touring.
Right. Exactly.
So for him to leave,
right.
if that's what he doesn't want to tour anymore,
Right.
totally get it.
Right. Exactly.
Right? So he's just going to walk away, and, but if, there's been some innuendo that they may not continue on.
Right.
So if that's, maybe this is the first step in that.
Right. Yeah. So I went more optimistic because of the history of this. So I have ongoing. So like without Pearl Jam's future without Matt Cameron is ongoing because they've gone through a hell of a lot of drummers. So 5 majors. I have 5 majors like in my little tablet screen right here, including Matt Cameron. Matt Cameron's the latest. And Matt Cameron's Matt Cameron, right? This is so him. Like, he's just so quietly awesome.
Yep.
Like he doesn't need the festival to go out. He just comes in, he does, his performances amazingly well, and then he just kind of drops it and moves on. He doesn't need the accolades. By the way, I want to point this out again, like to get back to Soundgarden. It's been the year of Soundgarden if we've had years of kicks in here before. Mm-hmm. Matt Cameron is Soundgarden's drummer.
Yep.
It is not Pearl Jam's drummer. Like Anders. I'll go to Anders, who firmly believes that Matt Cameron only has played for Pearl Jam and has never played for Soundgarden. He just picked up Pearl Jam after Soundgarden kind of called it quits. And so he's been, and it also, to me, gets back to the intertwined relationship between Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and how they've just done so much together. Not only just shared Matt Cameron, but shared a lot of tracks, recording tracks together, writing tracks together.
Temple of the Dog.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
like it's a twisted and ongoing relationship between those two bands. But first I'll say, hey, Josh Freese is out there, as a drummer. But it's very Spinal Tap to me. Pearl Jam's approach to drummers over the years, as they've had so many. So I feel like they're just going to pick it up and keep going. And there's other great options that are out there. And I don't necessarily see him quitting yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Foo Fighters will need a drummer.
Right.
So
I know.
If he truly isn't not retiring because he doesn't want to tour.
Right. And we've also recently seen this with Primus, where their drummer just kind of said,
Right.
I'm done. And drumming is very physical too, right? So like it is wearing and taxing on someone to keep doing that night after night and do that for a sustained amount of time. I mean, 98, I think, was when Matt Cameron joined Pearl Jam, 98, 99, in and around that time frame. So, 25, 30 years. So that's good clip of time. So God bless him. And obviously he was drumming for Soundgarden before that. So
Right.
over 30 years as a drummer. So yeah, we'll see. I'm hopeful, at least. I don't want to see another great rock act bow out. And really, that's almost been the theme of the night with the Back to the Beginning festival. So
Right.
hopefully that there's not more of that.
Well, maybe he's getting prepped for the Hall of Fame induction.
That's true too. Absolutely. Right. And I'm very much looking forward to that.
Yep.
Yeah, very cool. All right. Well, that wraps up our Heard and Word topics for tonight.
Yep.
Did any of you guys out in the booth, did you guys catch any of the Back to the Beginning stuff?
Yes.
Yeah? Did you like it?
It's good.
Yeah, I know.
Yep.
I haven't heard a bad thing yet. I haven't heard anybody like, oh, that sucked.
No,
That band
it's
sucked.
good. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I mean, to me, even people have been a little sharp about Guns N' Roses off and on over more recent years. And I've heard, not only I thought they were great performances, but I've also heard good reflections of that band, which people have taken some shots at, more recently.
Well, I mean, they did 4 Sabbath covers.
Yeah.
So they didn't have any backing tracks to
Right.
sing to.
That's very true.
So Axl actually sang.
I was going to tell you, since I'm not a wordsmith,
I love it.
my word for that, the very first one was mercurial.
Ooh,
Yes.
with reference to
Because-
Freddie Mercury.
No,
Oh,
it was
all right.
because of the ups and downs, the highs and the lows of it was so awesome, but then you realize it's like the last time you're going to see Ozzy, and like it was just sad, like how he was broken down, but he still was performing and like going above and beyond because he was performing, because he's supposed to do like a couple songs and he did 9 or whatever,
Right.
just because like music fed him, So it was like very emotional highs and lows for everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Not only would I call you a wordsmith for that word, I say you've earned an honorary doctor of letters.
Thank you. Also, Cameron leaving is insignificant.
Oh.
Who cares about Pearl Jam?
Look, man, we can't have another band go down. There's too many bands that are down right now, going down and out.
Still got Alice.
Still got, of course. Yeah. The track I've been listening to a lot lately is that track with The Who and William Duvall. Willem Duvall, like, I always go Willem because it's Willem Dafoe. I always want to say it instead of the actor instead of William Duvall. William Duvall. That's going to kill me. But yeah, so like that's just a slick, I love his vocals on that track. Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. All right, well,
Yep.
that's going to wrap us up.
Yep,
You
well,
got
just a
you got some
reminder.
shows? You got some shows to talk about?
Yeah, well, Friday, August the 1st, here at the Salisbury Center. It's a night of tribute with Riot, the Paramore tribute band,
You caught my disease.
Primus, and Brain Stew. So we got Paramore, Primus, Green Day. and,
Fantastic 90s tribute night. That's going to be a
Yep.
great night, and a lot of really strong and excellent musicians. Of course, I pump up Primus left and right. It's one of the best tribute bands I've ever seen.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that Primus band is solid.
and they're gigging around the area prior to that too. So you know if
they'll
they're
be in shape.
Yep. So it should be a good night.
Yep, excellent.
Yep.
All right, cool.
There's some new ones you guys don't know about that just got on the calendar. Just
Love it.
Signed it.
Uh-huh.
Thunderstruck, AC/DC with F It All opening up on September 12th.
Love it.
So bringing them in.
Uh-huh.
And then speaking of Ozzy, we're bringing in a Sabbath cover band.
Okay.
November 7th.
Okay.
And then the one that I'm working on the graphics for right now, Family Tradition, Hank Jr. tribute.
Excellent.
Should be pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've got some other concerts. We've got American Television coming back.
Okay.
Delta Spur.
Uh-huh. Del Spur is big around here.
Yeah, we got Loungefly and Evil Empire in December.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we got a lot of cool stuff, and we're working on adding more and more.
I love it.
Yep.
Can't get
Should be a
enough
good
live
fall.
music. Absolutely.
All right.
All right. All right. So we'll see you in a couple weeks. Rock on, rock on. Happy Friday. Cheers.
Cheers.
See ya.